How can you not love Nolan Arenado if you're a Cardinals fan? The Cardinals walking off on Saturday thanks to Nolan's greatness. We'll talk about it coming up on B-Schaeff Daily. What's going on, everyone, and welcome in to this edition of B-Schaeff Daily. Brenden Schaeffer with you. It is Saturday, April 26, 2025. Walk-off winner for the St. Louis Cardinals as Nolan Arenado gets into one in the bottom of the ninth inning, and the Cardinals win it 6-5. Not the way they thought they were going to win this game, right? The way that it had been going up to the ninth inning, you thought that this was going to be a pretty solid win. The lineup had done its job. Cardinals scored 5 runs. You had a handful of doubles. You had a good rate with runners in scoring position, 4 for 9 on the day. Cardinals were in a spot to cruise, and finally you got the bridge to pan out to Ryan Helsley, right? Previously, we had been talking about inning 6, 7, 8 as being the real problem spots for the Cardinals. And this time they were able to get through those innings without really very much fanfare. And it was Ryan Helsley that ends up coughing it up in the ninth inning. So we'll talk about it. We'll keep it relatively brief tonight. I always say that, but you do have the day game coming up on Sunday. I will, as I've talked about, actually be at the Blues game Sunday, covering that for Sports Hub STL. So we'll get locked in on all the St. Louis sports coverage. It's going to be a crazy day in downtown St. Louis. I think even City is playing for those who care about what's going on with the soccer team. I don't know if that's 100%. Let me find that out for sure. Yeah, that was dumb. I typed in City FC, and guess what? STL is not what popped up first. Yeah, tomorrow night, though, will be a home game for the soccer team. It's just going to be a great day of sports in downtown St. Louis. The Cardinals have already won this Brewers series, though. For as much as we're kind of, it feels like a year to dog on the Cardinals, I'm not convinced, folks. I'm not yet convinced that this Cardinals team is not still poised to make a run at things. And I'm not saying they're going to be able to outlast the Cubs. The Cubs, I actually think, are pretty good. Like in the NL Central standings, the Cubs they are. They're the team to beat. After the Cardinals won over the Brewers today in the bottom of the ninth inning, 6-5, the Cardinals are actually within a half game of Milwaukee. The Reds have surged. They're above 500. The Cubs, though, have a little bit of distance between themselves and the rest of the division. The Cardinals are 4.5 games back as we talk here on this episode of B-Schaeff Daily. I'm just saying, I think the Cardinals can manage 500, and then it'll honestly be up to the front office what's going to happen in July. Like, I think the Cardinals, their destiny is to be a couple games above 500 when they get to mid-July and everybody goes, well, what the hell happens now? Like, do you trade Eric Fedde, Ryan Helsley, Steven Matz if he's looking like a valuable piece, which at the moment he is? People will scoff, but Miles Mikolas could have some value if he continues to be just steady the way that he's been. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. But I do think the Cardinals could be close enough to where it does become more of a conversation than people probably think it is today. The Cardinals are 2-11 in road games. Obviously, they've got to get better than that. They've got to find a way to scratch out some road wins, right? And I could do a whole dissertation on why actually the Cardinals' road record at this point is not indicative of the team that they are, and people would roll their eyes, and they'd be right too. But I could go series by series and talk about each individual matchup and say why maybe the Cardinals didn't fare as well. Maybe I should. Maybe I should start by saying, yeah, the Boston Red Sox, they might be one of the best teams in the AL. The Cardinals, I'm not under any grand illusions here. I don't think the Cardinals are one of the best teams in the National League, but are they like one of the top 8 teams in the National League, top half? I think they are. And the Red Sox just beat them like a drum. The Cardinals didn't have their pitching lined up the way that they wanted in that series. Eric Fedde had his worst start of the year. Miles Mikolas had his worst start of the year, and the Cardinals got their butts kicked, right? You go to Pittsburgh, 29 degrees. It's not a great excuse, but that's what happened. It was just one of those series where I don't think either team wanted to be there, and so you leave things up to chance. They go on this last road trip. The Mets might be the best team in the National League. The Dodgers are still the team that I would bet on, right? Like, That's a team that you think is going to be there at the end. The Mets are really good. If that starting pitching holds up the way it looked like in the 4-game set against the Cardinals, that's different. I mean, the Mets might have something there. Their 4 through 9 still leaves a bit to be desired in their lineup. That top 3, though, can carry you, as they did against the Cardinals. So, yeah, give me the Dodgers, probably give me the Padres, too, and maybe give me the Cubs over the Mets. But the Mets are a very good team, and the Cardinals found that out the hard way. You go to Atlanta, they're kind of falling on hard times as well. They've got some injuries. We haven't seen Acuna, but they played at home. They've done a nice job. The Cardinals are familiar with that. So you could kind of walk through why the Cardinal road record is the way that it's been and sort of hand wave it away. I'm not saying it's legit. I'm not saying that they're going to end up turning it around and being a winning team on the road or a playoff team for that matter, but like you could squint and see it. So I'm kind of watching the Cardinals the last couple of days, and man, the brand of baseball, I continue to say this, the brand of baseball that they play at home is different. It's a really good brand. It's the type of baseball that I know the Cardinal Nation wants to see, but I also understand why Cardinal Nation has a little bit of that hesitancy, where they're like, yeah, show us more consistently. Show us for a handful of weeks, and we'll come back to the ballpark, right? Attendance is still down. I think Sunday we've kind of joked about, the Blues are playing at noon. Cardinal attendance is going to be a little bit rough on Sunday. But at the same time, it is just so fascinating. The Cardinals are 10-4 at home. Like their record, if you've gone to these home games, which not a lot of people have, if you've done that, you've enjoyed some good baseball. Like they're pitching well. They're getting timely hitting for the most part. They're 10-4. If that record was translated across the full season, they would be NL Central champions by a long shot, right? So we'll see what ends up happening. But as far as Saturday goes, Sonny Gray gave you a quality start. I know that when it comes to your ace, like the guy that everybody views as the number 1 in the rotation, you want more than 6 innings, 3 runs. But that's kind of the baseline, I think, of what this Cardinal rotation is all about. 6 innings, 3 runs, turn it over to the bullpen, and hopefully you scored 5 runs that day. And a lot of times recently, they haven't been able to get to that margin of 5 runs. They did in this game, right? 2, 3, 4. Second, third, and fourth innings, they got their 5 runs. And unfortunately, Sonny Gray was, a little bit shaky in the 5th and 6th innings, but was able to get through that quality start. And so they go to the bullpen in the 7th. We could talk about this because I do think it is a worthy conversation. This was the type of game that if you're really talking about raising the level of competitiveness, if you're really talking about raising the stakes of expectations for the Cardinals season, you want Sonny Gray to cap off that outing without giving up 3 runs, so you have a little bit more cushion. Maybe it's 5-1 instead of 5-3, and maybe the Cardinals tack on another one in the 7th or the 8th inning, and you're like, okay, we can go Riley O'Brien for a full inning instead of just as sort of like a rescue mission as he did today. We could go Matt Swanson even for an inning or 2 to wrap this thing up. We don't have to throw, Maton. We don't have to throw Helsley. We don't have to throw, Steven Matz. He might be a leveraged lefty reliever for this Cardinal team by the time it's all said and done. I still believe that giving him another look in the rotation is the right call. It wouldn't shock me if we get to September and we're looking at the stats and going, yep, Steven Matz only made the 1 start all year. He made 2 starts all year, and the rest of it was in the bullpen. Because Jojo Romero, John King, those are your lefties right now, and they're not getting the job done. Steven Matz kind of is. So you could see the benefit organizationally of having Steven Matz in the role that he was in today, coming in behind Sonny Gray, getting a lefty lane for Oliver Marmol's bullpen, and then going to Riley O'Brien to clean up the rest of the 7th. I'm not saying that's sustainable. I don't know what's going to happen between now and the rest of the, to May 8th. To me, Steven Matz should get 2 more starts between now and then, but I'm not managing the team, and I understand they've got a lot that they're trying to work through. So we'll see, but he's looked good in his roles. He gave up a hit today, but had 2 outs, and then Riley came on to get the final out of the 7th. Credit to Ollie for throwing Riley out there. Like, you have to be willing to use the entire bullpen. O'Brien comes up. Fernandez had gone down. Put Riley in there. He got the out. Doesn't need any more that day, right? Because you're going to Phil Maton in the 8th. again, you're probably stretching him a little thinner and making life a little more difficult than you want it to be down the road, because Maton, it's another back-to-back. He's still thrown in more than half of the team's games this season. I believe he's thrown 15 times in 27 games. Like, it's kind of bonkers considering the fact that he was not in spring training for most of it, but he's been a reliable guy. He's got a 2.63 ERA. Not many guys in the bullpen can say that. Every day he can say that, and I'm not changing the nickname, by the way, even though he didn't pitch today. It was the first game in 5 that he didn't pitch. He went 4 games in a row, 4 games in 5 days. He pitched in all of them, and was obviously somebody they were trying to stay away from today. But that's what Oliver Marmol has to try to navigate right now. But when you're getting that type of start from Sonny Gray, 6 innings, 3 runs, again, you wanted it to probably close a little stronger than it did. Again, keep this in mind later in the summer when you're complaining about, why didn't Ollie keep Sonny Gray in for the 6th or the 7th inning on 90 pitches? Well, he does. He wears down as the outing goes along. That's just the nature of what it's been, and the guy managing him doesn't have the ability to go, shake him and say, hey, just close out the 6th inning and be great. Like, obviously that's what everybody wants. Sometimes it's not going to happen. And as the manager, you've got to have your finger on the pulse of that, and I feel like Ollie did a nice job of that today. Let him work through it, because you're up 5-0, and then he gives up a run. You're up, 5-1. You're up 5-2. All right. Bring him back out for the 6th, because you've got a little bit of margin, and Cardinals did not have the luxury, in my opinion, to just throw everybody from that bullpen out there. So he gets through that 6th inning, gives up a run. Thomas Saggese, unbelievable play defensively. It glanced off of Sonny's glove, but Saggese on a dime, diving, makes the stop from his backside, throws, gets the out at second base. The 3rd run did score. It was 5-3, but Sonny was able to get out of the rest of the inning from there. That was unbelievable by Thomas Saggese playing second base today. Just a fantastic play. Victor Scott had a really good defensive play as well in this game in center field. Cardinals played a really crisp game. You look at the lineup. Mason Wynn, 2 for 4, a couple of runs scored in the 9-hole. Nootbaar, 2 for 4, couple of runs scored, couple of RBIs, walked again. He's on base 3 times. Contreras, 2 for 5. That's an 8-game hitting streak for Wilson. Brendan Donovan, 2 for 5, drove in a run. And then obviously Arenado with the home run. He also was on base via walk. Gorman, 1 for 3, also reached via walk. The couple of times he didn't get on base, 2 strikeouts. You want to find a way to curb that enthusiasm. But at the same time, I mean, you're seeing that consistency from the Cardinal lineup that you need. I mentioned it off the top, 4 for 9 with runners in scoring position. They got their 5 runs. That was this game. Ideally, I think for a team that can really elevate to the next level, you see Sonny Gray lock in, and he leaves that game 5-1 or something similar after 6. And then it's a little bit different. You don't have to go to the relievers that you do. Like maybe you save Steven Matz, because as much as right now he's kind of in that flux between starter reliever, he's been very reliable. You want to put him in for the spots where you really need to, right? O'Brien, doesn't matter. He only threw a handful of pitches, 2 pitches to get that out that he got in the 7th inning. He'll be available Sunday, no problem. He'll be available. It's like it never even happened. Maton, different story. The fact that they had to go to him in the 8th inning, that's a back-to-back for him, and they've been trying like hell to keep away from him just because of the circumstances of him having no spring training and coming into the fold pretty late, and he's been worked very heavily early. They had to use him because Leahy just simply, you're not going to throw Leahy for a 5th game in a row. Maton, that was, and Maton's a veteran. He's willing to do it. He got the job done. Credit to him. But then, man, the world stops. The earth, it ceases to spin on its axis when Ryan Helsley gives up the homer to Jackson Chourio, ties the game in the top of the 9th inning. Brutal spot. We got to watch this for Ryan Helsley. We do. I think he's going to be. He'll be okay, in my opinion. But you do need to watch it because it kind of felt like again he's pitching backwards. He's going to that slider before the fastball because he doesn't feel like he's got the same command of the fastball that he needs. And I think Chourio was on top of it. It was a slider that backed up, kind of get me over in nature, and Chourio just clubbed it for the 2-run shot, tie game. Credit to Hells getting out of the rest of that inning. But now you're the Cardinals, and fortunately for the Cardinals, they had the meat of the lineup coming up. And I said, man, somebody's got to hit a home run here. Got to have this game. Sonny pitched too well to not win it. The bridge guys in your bullpen, Matz, O'Brien, Maton, did too well not to win it. 4 for 9 with Risp, too good not to win it. You had Wynn, Newt Bar, Contreras, Donovan, all with a 2-hit day. They had too many contributions from too many places not to win this game. And it was Nolan Arenado that comes up with a big swing in the bottom of the 9th inning, turns on a fastball. I saw the tweet from Corey Miller of KSDK interviewing Arenado after the game, said he probably wouldn't have gotten to that pitch last year. The high fastball, turn on it, pull it for power, pull it in the air, all hallmarks of what you see when Nolan Arenado is going really well at the plate. They just had to have it, gang, and they got it. So Cardinals 12-15. You can look at the standings and kind of wince a little bit because the Cardinals are still in 4th place, but we're not even out of the month of April. I still think there's a lot of runway for this team. I'm not talking about the runway that you give to the players like Gorman and Walker and those guys. I'm talking about just a little bit of time to let the season breathe, to let the season unfold and see what it's going to be. They're a really good team at home right now. They got to find a way to replicate that on the road, but they're not alone in that. Like the Brewers are 4-11 this year in road games. The Brewers are having closed-door team meetings before opening the clubhouse after games. Like, they're having issues over there, too. These are things that are happening in Milwaukee, and the Cardinals are a half game behind the Brewers. So, if they're like the pinnacle of what the Central has been the last couple of years, just understand the Cardinals they're not too far off right now. The Cubs are going to be an issue because I think they've got the thump in their lineup. They've got the offense and the pitching to potentially make it all the way through 6 months this summer. But that could only mean, that could end up meaning 87 wins, which is not necessarily a completely insurmountable number. Right now, the Cubs are on a much better pace than that. Looks like they're on they're on a 98-win pace. I would take the under on that for the Cubs. They're 17-11. They're playing really well. But, they're going to hit their spots as well as anybody else will. Justin Steele is already lost for the year for them, so that they're going to have to kind of grapple with that as the season goes along. They could be a 90-win team for sure, maybe even 95. And maybe the division's out of reach if that's what the Cubs are this year. But I'm still looking at this Cardinals team going, it's too early for me to definitively say, no, they don't have it. Because you're watching the way they're playing at home, and that's the style of play that you want to see. That is the way that I think the Cardinals can actually end up being not only a team to reckon with in the standings, but a team that people want to go see at Busch Stadium. 10-4 at home right now. The attendance has been down, and honestly, rightfully so. You've had multiple years where the Cardinal front office has asked for patience from the fan base and said, hey, we're going to get there. And then it never happened, and then it was kind of slid under the rug that, by the way, it's never going to happen. We're done chasing that carrot. We're not going to try to the extent that we have before with the Major League roster. We're going to take off the payroll. We're going to try from an infrastructure standpoint to build things up, and you're going to reap those benefits eventually. But for Cardinal fans that have been chasing that carrot, right, at the end of the stick and going, come on, we're so close, 83 and 79, Cardinals could have added back to this team and tried to get over the hump that way. They're taking a different approach this year. I don't think it's wrong in the long term, and in regards to how the Cardinals are going to benefit from the way they're approaching the 2025 season. I do think it's something that can help them in the long term. And frankly, the post game that we did for Sports Hub STL earlier today, myself and Grant Salzman, go check that video out if you're interested, because we went for like 50 minutes reading comments from Cardinals fans. It was a live show. I would love to do something live on this channel here soon. If that's of your interest, bug me. Like, to have me do it, I'm going to need people to bug me and be like, no, seriously, do it. We enjoy it. But we had a good conversation just about sort of the nature of the way the lineup is functioning right now. Like, we know a few things that are just constants. Nolan Gorman's going to be in there. For the most part, Jordan Walker is going to be in there. But today, it was Sajacy. And you're like, well, Sajacy plays second, Walker plays right field. What are you talking about? On this Cardinals team, those things are hand in hand because it doesn't take a leap to go, okay, Donovan's going to move to left field, Nootbaar to right field, and suddenly you can have a second baseman and a right fielder basically be a one or the other proposition for that day's lineup. It's very easy to make that happen. But they're going to play Gorman. More often than not, they're going to play Walker. Right now, Alec Burleson is somebody that we're not seeing very much of in the lineup, and he hasn't been able to produce like the power that he needs. We dove into some depth on the show post-game for Sports Hub, but if Burleson is a guy who doesn't strike out as his calling card, but he's also not hitting for power, and also his chase rate is going up this year, that's a guy that, right now doesn't necessitate a daily spot in the Cardinal lineup. And there was a case that he should have been the guy sent down because in the ninth inning of a game the Cardinals are up by 2, you could bring Michael Ciani into that game. You're not going to bring Alec Burleson in that game for defense. So I'm not saying the Cardinals made the wrong decision. I'm just making the case that, we'll see how many opportunities Burleson gets coming up. He had been starting to come around maybe at the plate, but they've made an organizational decision clearly that Gorman's playing right now, and we're going to see what that looks like. So these are the differences between a normal season where you're able to kind of say, all right, who's hot, who's not, sit the guys who aren't or send them to AAA, and, the guys who are hot are going to stay in the lineup. That's not 100% the way that it goes right now, and there's sort of a deeper meaning to all of this, which you might not love as a Cardinal fan. I think it is the way that things need to be going right now, and so I'm pretty well in support of it, of what they're doing. But it's definitely interesting. It's definitely different than, what we've seen in the past, and so we'll see what this summer ends up being. But the Cardinals could go out there Sunday, taking on the Milwaukee Brewers tomorrow afternoon in front of however many people are in downtown St. Louis and not at the Blues game, which I'll be at the Blues game. Pitching matchup, say whether it favors the Cardinals or not. Eric Fetty's been a solid one. Jose Quintana's been really good for Milwaukee. So we'll see what that ends up being. But the Cardinals could sweep the series. And you do that, you're 13-15, you're that much closer to 500. The Reds, I think, are going to be a tough place to go and play this week. I believe it's a 4-game series. But it wouldn't take that much to have the Cardinals eke back to 500 by the time they welcome the Mets to town next weekend. You say, well, we already know what the Mets do against the Cardinals. Sure, but that was at their place. I think the Cardinals are going to need, they're going to need the environment, I think, to have a little bit of a benefit. We saw it from the Blues on Thursday. We'll see Sunday whether the Blues can stand up one more time against Winnipeg. The Mets environment was fantastic. I mean, you could see it on TV. That was a playoff caliber environment in April. Cardinals aren't getting that from Busch Stadium next weekend. But if they sweep the Brewers and they're able to go to Cincinnati and, maybe they take 3 or 4, the record at that point would be 16-16, I believe, give or take. My math might be off a little bit, but they'd be right around 500 coming back into that weekend series and that homestand next week against the Mets and then the Pirates. I'm not counting the Cardinals out just yet, and if you are out there, I understand it. If you're in that show me state of mind where it's like, all right, I'll wait until I see it and then I'll believe it. And then maybe even a little bit after that, I'll need to see it a little bit longer. Totally fair. But we'll see. The Cardinals do seem to be playing some inspired baseball, at least at home. And the last 2 games, very crisp, outside of, Ryan Helsley making the mistake, giving it up to Chourio, which they got to have Helsley right. No doubt about that, if they're going to get where they want to go. But that's 2 games in a row where they have played some really good baseball and won some tight contests, 3-2 on Friday, and then the walk-off home run on Saturday afternoon. We'll see where it goes from here, Cardinals fans, but a couple of wins back at home. Is it changing your perspective, or are you very much in wait-and-see mode right now as a Cardinal fan? Couldn't blame you if that were the case, but we'll be talking about it here on B-Schaeff Daily every single day. That's the name of the game. when you do a daily podcast during baseball season. So I appreciate you guys for listening, for tuning in, and for sticking with it, whether the Cardinals are struggling, doing well, or somewhere in between. We'll be talking about it here. But we'll take a moment here before we drop out on this podcast to go down on the farm to talk about what's going on in the Cardinals minor league system. It's time to go down on the farm. Brought to you by Hastings Layers Premium Eggs.
You'll be happier than a jackass eating thistle.
Huh? So as we do these down on the farms every day, I know that everybody has pretty much been on weather watch to see when JJ would return to the Springfield Cardinals lineup. I'll tell you off the top, it wasn't today. Still dealing with flu-like symptoms. Again, I haven't seen a ton of reporting on this, but enough to believe that that's what's going on. So we'll continue to believe that that's the case. And the Cardinals in Springfield lost 7-0 to the old wind surge this afternoon or tonight. Max Radjic, not a great outing from him. 2 1/3, 6 runs allowed, 4 walks, couple of homers. You just wash that one off. It's a bummer, though. I mean, Radjic was the minor league pitcher of the year for the Cardinals a couple of years ago, and he's got a 7.88 ERA. So, I mean, and that's at AA. So you're definitely hoping to see more out of Max Radjic, but we'll see. I mean, ERA of 7 point something. I already closed the tab, but it ain't great. So we'll see if he's able to kind of rebound and be somebody that can make his way toward Memphis sooner rather than later. The Memphis Redbirds, as I'm checking the box scores for those guys, looks like a 7-inning game today, and not for the reason of a doubleheader, because there's no second game on the scores. 5-4 winners, though, for the Redbirds over the Norfolk Tides. They've been taking it to those guys in recent days. Michael Ciani, well, over 4.3 Ks. I like Ciani as a piece off the bench, but the Cardinals just do not have the luxury to hold him. He's not a guy you can ever bat. Like, I went through the offseason and tried to kind of talk it up and say, hey, you know what? Ciani thinks he can be a guy that can, assert himself at the major league level as a hitter. Show it. I at this point, there's no reason to believe that he will. He's 0 for 4 with 3 Ks in Memphis. So he's in 0.77 with the Redbirds. At a certain point, I do believe he is one of the best defensive center fielders in baseball in the continent of North America. The dude has not been able to hit, and so at a certain point, that part matters too. If the Cardinals were 5 games above 500, you wouldn't care. You'd put him on there as a 26-man. He would never bat the entire season. He would pinch run. He would play defense, and he would help you win games that way. But the Cardinals aren't in that spot. They're 3 games below 500, and they've got to be able to maximize their roster, so that's where they're at right now, and we'll see as time goes on. Jose Barrero, probably somebody that deserves a call-up before the next time we see Ciani. Home run, only 1 for 4 today in Memphis, but his 4th home run of the season. He's hitting .301, 926 OPS. We saw some good things from him in spring. He can play some short. He can play some outfield. Honestly, that would be a guy that I think would be intriguing to bring up if you were deciding at some point that Sajaci was not going to play enough to justify his spot. Not because of anything wrong with him, but because of everything else the Cardinals are doing in terms of giving other guys runway. That might be the play at some point in time to bring him up. So we'll see, but good on the Redbirds with their 7-inning win against the Tides out in Norfolk tonight. That, though, is going to do it for this edition of B-Schaeff Daily. Another game tomorrow, so we'll be right back at it the next day. But we'll see if the Cardinals can go for the sweep, and if I have to put up another graphic on Twitter regarding how difficult sweeps may or may not be. Right? Sweeps aren't that hard. Just play the... can't say it yet. We'll see if the Cardinals get it done on Sunday. An opportunity to sweep the Brewers and really feel good about the way things are going in this series and in this homestand. Appreciate you guys so much for listening. As always, that'll do it for this edition of the show. We will talk to you next time on B-Schaeff Daily. Peace.